I think you'll find Chapter 6 to be fascinating reading. This is where, and this is another subsection of marketing called consumer behavior. I mean, there are whole classes in consumer behavior. I took a grad class specifically dedicated to this, and which is a book even bigger than the one that you guys have for this course. So it just kind of shows you, the reason I point out how deep the subject of marketing, just that term, really truly is. But consumer markets, and then the next chapter talks about business markets, really is the behavioral or the psychological, sociological, anthropological side of marketing, where the goal is to understand concepts like the diffusion of innovation, how people go about deciding what to purchase and why. If you can determine, I mean, it's one thing to count what people buy and how many people buy, like we get from sales data and things like that, but it's a whole nother matter to understand why someone purchases it. And a big chunk of the chapter is dedicated to kind of how people or target markets are categorized, number one. And then number two, it goes into the behavioral side, the motivations behind things. If you can figure out the why, it becomes much easier to then provide or to answer that why question for your target market and then give that to them consistently, because that's what people really value. The why. If you think about the why behind any decision you make or any purchase, let's just stick to that, it can tell you a great deal. Now, I will kind of tell you the cheap end of the story, why, and the reason people buy what they buy, other than, absolute staples. And even that, even a stick of butter, we buy what makes us feel good, what supports our view of ourselves, the world around us, our aspirations, our hopes. I mean, it gets pretty deep to a point. That's why if you look on the course, the MyUSF, there's a VALS survey, VALS, Values, Attitudes, Lifestyle survey. I suggest you take that. And it will give you a little insight into those motivating factors that you have for why you purchase it, because it's a view of the world. And if you notice, for example, when insurance is sold, life insurance, they don't show you, pictures of pile of money and things like that, because you're not going to collect your life insurance. I hate to break that to you. It's really death insurance, so it's kind of an interesting name. And trust me, the names chosen for products are very specifically done because it really describes what the product does, at least if they're smart. I'm not saying all business decisions are smart, because they certainly are not. But you're not going to collect it. But when they sell this life insurance, it's protection for those that are left behind. It's a security option. I talked to a guy that sold smoke alarms, and very expensive smoke alarms for not even for commercial sense. It was for homes. And he said they had a very high close rate, and by that I mean the people that would see the presentation and that would order was a very high ratio. So out of every 10, I think he said like 7 or 8, which is really high. That's a massive response rate. But what they would do is show a film, and it was, and I don't mean this to sound terrible, but it works. They'd show a baby crib melted to the ground, or something horrible that happens as a result of fire, and people not knowing about it or getting out in time. Well, then it becomes, okay, you want to spend, and I can't remember how much it was, X amount of dollars on a smoke alarm. Your resistance to that price point goes down considerably. So, and it's not a manipulation as much as I would call it. I mean, you could certainly make a case that that's manipulative, but emotions play a huge part in what people buy. I don't care what you say, that you're a perfectly rational, you always buy the cheapest of everything. I if we did a few Q&As, I highly doubt any of us buy the cheapest of everything we ever, just the bare minimum. You go in and you buy the cheapest appliances, you buy the cheapest toilet paper or chewing gum. It's all relative. It's all relative. Anyway, let's look here at the next page. So as you look at this, the influences on buying, the psychological processes, the decision-making process. If you can figure that out, that's powerful. And the key thing, I guess, mechanically that you'll notice, or I hope you notice, is that that phase where you look for information about, you have a need, and then you look for ways to satisfy that need. Protect your family or transportation, so on and so forth. That's where advertising or marketing communications comes in. So you got to be there in the right place given who the target market is and their media habits and so on and so forth. So, and then the last question on here, or the last thing, why do consumers stray from a deliberate, rational decision process? I will leave that to your reading because you will find that fascinating. This is a critical chapter because this operationalizes strategy formulation in a lot of senses. So read this carefully. I think you'll enjoy this a great deal, and do your best. So anyway, enjoy, and I will talk to you soon.